Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight in the second installment of our Maine Speaker Series. I'm TJ Halliday, the Maine Coordinator of Officials. It's a pleasure to introduce tonight's speaker tonight, Mr. Barry Fuller. He's a longtime basketball official here in Maine, worked numerous tournament games, including state championships, and just recently was bestowed with the honor of becoming an IBO Life member for his contributions to the game. He's a longtime interpreter here. He's a longtime site supervisor of the Maine Principals Association tournament. And I think he's going to do a wonderful job on this important topic that we saw at the fall seminar recently held in Portland. Without further ado, Mr. Barry Fuller.
Thank you, TJ. There's a lot of emphasis on long time. I'm not sure if that's an old reference or not, but if it was, then it's completely accurate. So this will be my first year of not officiating. I'm going to focus a lot on observations and cadets development. So I'm looking forward to the year in a different light. So as TJ mentioned, this is a presentation that was put on at the fall conference in Portland. So some of you may have seen this. It has been changed somewhat. I took the liberty of editing it and trying to condense some of the information into maybe a shorter session. Hopefully it will work for you. But, and with that, we'll get started. Illegal versus incidental contact. One of the few judgments that separates the every night official from the tournament official. And there aren't many of them, really. When we talk about moving into that category of tournament official, people expect more, they expect better, they expect the best, quite frankly, and illegal versus incidental can make or break a game in a heartbeat. So keep that in mind. The focus of this presentation is, in fact, incidental contact and illegal contact. All right, here we have a game situation. So what I'd like you to do is, as you watch this video, I would like you to count, and I'll play it twice. I'd like you to count the number of illegal contacts that you see, because when the video is over, you'll realize that there were no whistles throughout. It's a tight score. We got 1 minute remaining, so there's a lot of intensity. Okay, let's see that one more time, because some of them are easy to miss. So I'm not going to ask each of you what you came up for a number. Some of you could have come up with 2 or 5 or 8 or 10. As I mentioned before, there wasn't a whistle, and I truly believe that there should have been a whistle at some point, and maybe earlier than later, because it would have preempted a lot of the additional activities. But what these 3 officials ruled is every one of those contact situations, and there were many, was incidental and didn't require a whistle. All right. Now I can't help but comment as well on the officials in their movement on the court and their mechanics and their adjusting and so forth. I thought the lead did a pretty good job in getting in, closing down, maybe a little bit late, but he did, and then he backed off when there was another shot taken. So he did a pretty good job. I don't understand exactly why the center went out on the court the way he did. That sometimes shrinks your field of vision, and you don't see everything that you should see. And the trail, quite frankly, did not get engaged I think he was in the penalty box throughout the whole thing. So let me just throw that again, and you can see the officials in their movements. It's a good close down. Not sure why the center came in on that one. The trail really should be stepping down in this situation to help out. And the last comment I'll make, at this point right now, the trail is decided as a held ball before the center official had determined it was a held ball. So if he had in fact come up with illegal contact, then I'm not sure why the trail was indicating direction. So with that, we'll move on. But that's an example of what can happen, and you got to be prepared, and you've got to be able to blow the whistle when it really matters. So we all know if it's incidental, it's legal. We're not going to have a whistle. And if it's illegal, we are going to have a whistle, and we're going to have a foul. And then we're going to describe the foul. Okay. So here's some compilation of the contact plays that we may see from night to night. We'll get a better look at some of those. Incidental contact. Illegal contact is a foul. Okay. Incidental contact, NFHS rules. Incidental contact is contact with an opponent, which is permitted, which is legal, and does not constitute a foul. The mere fact that contact occurs does not constitute a foul. When 10 players are moving rapidly in a limited area, some contact certainly is going to occur. In contact which may result when an opponents are in equally favorable positions to perform normal defensive or offensive movements should not be considered illegal, even though the contact may be severe. Similarly, contact which does not hinder the opponent from participating in a normal defensive or offensive movement should be considered incidental. Sometimes we use the phrase freedom of movement. A player who is screened within his or her visual field is expected to avoid contact with the screener by stopping or going around the screener. In cases of screens outside the visual field, the opponent may make inadvertent contact with the screener, and such contact is to be ruled incidental contact, provided the screener is not displaced if he or she has the ball. And what that says is the screener can be displaced if they don't have the ball, and it would still be ruled incidental. Contact which does not hinder the opponent from participating in a normal defensive or offensive movement should be considered incidental. Now let's talk about consistency on this tough ruling. Consistency, and we're talking about within an individual, the official himself. Is he consistent or is she consistent from one end of the court to the other, from the first quarter to the fourth quarter? We're talking about consistency within the crew, whether it's a 2 or 3. Now we really have to work harder at consistency, and sometimes there's an adjustment that has to be made. And obviously, pre-game conference is critical in making this consistency within the crew happen. And then from crew to crew. So in Gym A tonight versus Gym B, are we working the same illegal contact slash, just lost the word here. We work in the illegal versus incidental, from crew to crew, from night to night. So all of these consistencies are a challenge for us. The easiest one is within yourself. You can work hard at it and get good, but you need to blend in with your partner and help your partner in some cases to get on the same page for a given game. So strive to be accurate and consistent within rules enforcement, application, and mechanics. All of these things will aid as a crew, as a board, and as a state association. And that's one of the things that we really work hard on in the state of Maine, and I think we're quite successful at it because of the consistency through the 5 interpreters and each board. And it's quite a challenge to have all of ABLE, but there's no better organization that gets the information out in accurate form. So what drives inconsistency? We should not allow our feelings, philosophies, time, score to be driving forces behind contact rulings that we must judge to be illegal or incidental. Not allow feelings and philosophies or time and score. So my opinion, my philosophy, my theory, we really don't look for that. For the sake of rule accuracy and application, advantage, disadvantage, philosophies and opinions mean very little. Okay? We don't hear that much anymore, the advantage, disadvantage. And that's a good thing. This should be all rules-based. Contact rules do matter, and rules must be the basis of our judgment. I think the way I do it, there again, we shouldn't use that terminology, and we shouldn't share that, especially when working with younger officials, right? Because really they should be interested in how you do it, unless you're doing it right, and then it's by the book. Going back to, especially in screens, relatively severe contact may be incidental. This is a good example. Incidental. Looked like verticality was taking place. The offensive player ended up on the floor, but that doesn't mean it was illegal. This is another one. Take another look at it here. Incidental, no whistle, illegal whistle. Looks like we had no whistle other than out of bounds. Now the contact on that looked like it was a clean block, but yet the body of the defender, who was not vertical, was moving into, made contact with the body of the player making the try. Probably should have been ruled illegal. Minimal contact may be illegal and possibly even intentional. So take a look at this play. Fourth quarter, it's about a minute left. One team needs to gain some ground on the score. Okay, what we have here is we have number 5, who is obviously trying to stop the clock, placing 2 hands on white number 5. Okay. So we know that the hand checking rule does not fall under the same guidelines as other contact situations, right? Because we know the contact rule, the illegal hand checking rule, has criteria, specific criteria. One hand going on and staying, multiple tagging of the hand, 2 hands on. Those all have to be ruled hand checking, especially really with the ball handler. Okay, so this is a case where 2 hands went on, and we have to know that 2 hands on is intentional. So this probably should have been ruled, and maybe she didn't have the second hand on, but it was obvious that this player was trying to stop the clock, because that's not certainly not playing the ball. Okay. That one looked to be fairly routine. The official did a good job of trying to get ahead of the play, and actually had a good even though she wasn't ahead of the play at the time, she had a great look at between offense and defense in that scenario, that play. Contact may be severe. We mentioned this. A1 sets a legal screen outside the sight line of an opponent who is moving rapidly when screened. Both players end up being knocked to the court. When opponents moving rapidly toward each other from equally favorably positions crash into each other. A1 sustains a concussion and B1 has a bloody nose. It may be severe. So that's the case, and I think we have a play that shows that later on. Incidental contact may be minimal or slight. A defender's finger pushes a jump shooter's elbow just prior to the release of the try for goal. That has to be ruled illegal. And also, intentional contact may be minimal or slight, and we just saw a video of that. That was slight contact, but it fell into the hand-checking rule. Attempting to stop a breakaway by momentum, grabbing a player's jersey is another example. Okay, delaying the player. Okay, that would have to be ruled intentional. Anytime you see a fistful of jersey, it's an intentional foul, and there's a casebook play that spells that out. These are situations that have the greater potential for illegal incidental rulings. Screening situations, offense-initiated contact, loose ball situations, rebounding situations, pass crash situations. This might be a good time to take a little side trip here on, I skipped the slide here, how to prepare for consistency. Be a rules expert, become proficient with proper application, work hard to obtain correct position from which to view the plays, position adjust to obtain and maintain a great look at plays, focus on individual play situation, and at the same time maintain big picture coverage, especially in Crew of Two. Extend your vision cones when necessary. Extend your PCA coverage to help with the competitive matchup outside your defined PCA, especially when you know your partners do not have a great sight line or are blocked, or possibly they have 8 players in their area. Don't turn your back on plays when transitioning, and don't temporarily get distracted or when other activity occurs. You need to focus. These are keys to accurate rulings for incidental versus illegal. Learn the rules relevant to legal incidental and illegal foul contact. Focus on matchups that require your attention. Set your priorities within your PCA. Adjust your position so you are able to view the play from best angle, usually to view the space between the matchups. Be prepared for what may happen so you're not surprised. And don't turn your back on plays when transitioning. Let's look at some screening plays. Everyone is going to expect a foul in this situation. Okay, depending on the official's view of this play, okay, you may see the screener leaning in to the defensive player, okay, in which case it would be ruled illegal, okay. If the defensive player initiated the contact by running into the screener's leg, that would be a different scenario. Now we're talking about no whistle, more than likely, okay. The screener did not have the ball, so even if the screener got displaced, it would not be ruled illegal. Now this one is a case of the defender ran into a screen that was outside visual field. And when she made contact with the screener, she did not stop and try to go around. She plowed through. So this would be illegal. She displaced, the screener did not have the ball, did get displaced, but that's not what's driving the ruling. The ruling is the defensive player tried to plow through even after contact was made. Here we have late in the game again, close score. Let's see this again. Oops. So for the purpose of this slide, let's ignore the fact that she traveled before she shoots. But was this incidental contact? We don't have a great look. We don't have a great look at that. We don't have as good a look as the official does. So we're going to assume that he was right and there was a little bit of a push that caused it to fall. Okay. Maybe it was slight, but we know that slight contact can be ruled illegal. Okay. This crew here is a little bit confused in handling the benches. As you'll notice, see, there's where the travel occurs right there. Foot was up and down. And we don't have a great look at it. And for those of you that go on RefQuest, this is a scenario that we find quite often where we don't have the same look as the official, and we don't have the best look given the camera on some plays. So you need to take that into account. But here we have two coaches that are on the court, and one of them is really resisting going back to his bench when he's directed to do so. The official's trying to make it happen, but he gives up on him. So this is a good one, and you may want to consider a third option, incidental versus illegal. What other option would you have on this particular play? Now, if you saw what I saw, it's a case of the offensive player stepping into the defensive player, and then an acting job takes place. So I think these officials in this case here ruled correctly that it's incidental, or depending on what's happened in the game, and in this case here, a ruling on a flop, a faking being fouled is probably would not be a bad choice either. So yeah, you want to consider that because this is the kind of activity that, if not penalized, tends to propagate. So especially if it happens early in the game, because now the coaches and the players are thinking that this game we're not gonna be calling illegal contact, but that's not the scenario, because right here the offensive player is the one that generated, and then he put on the acting job, trying to show that he got fouled, which he did not. So here's another one. Crew of two, pass crash, or is this crash pass? So relatively severe illegal contact that was missed. Officials' pregame discussion should include this. Pregame is critical for incidental and illegal contact. It should be probably 5 minutes of your pregame. We can take a little side trip here first on this pass crash This is a slide that was from another presentation that TJ did. So this is the mechanic that we use now for pass crash situation. The direction of the pass dictates the coverage on plays in the free throw lane area. If the ball is passed towards the official is responsible for the player receiving the ball and any potential defenders. If the ball is passed away from the official is responsible for the passer and the defender of the crash. Straight lined. We don't see where the trail is, but that would have been the only person. We had no whistle on this apparently. Okay, and certainly there should have been one. If you look at it in slow motion, the contact actually took place before she released the ball, but it was close. The penalty is the same either way, whether it's via player control or a team control foul. But this is not a good look, unfortunately for the league. If it was a crew of 3, we would have had a much better look. And here it is, the diagram. The ball's being passed in the trails area, so he goes with the ball. And the lead takes up the crash. Relatively little but illegal contact. Great pickup by the trail and his 2-person crew. Okay, here's the other diagram, other sequence here. There again, the trail has the crash in this case because the pass went away or towards the lead. I believe this mechanic was in play last year, even the year before, and I'm finding that most officials really like this. It's more definite. You see that again. We got a screen coming up, and a foul is ruled. The illegal screen. Looks like 44 was still moving. So we have a ruling here of incidental contact. Okay. But should there have been a ruling for flopping or faking being fouled? Because my experience is if these things aren't handled, they will propagate, and it may be at a more serious or more impactful time of the game. So in terms of consistency, if you had a faking being fouled ruling at this point, and it happened, and again, it happened in the 4th quarter with 2 minutes left, it would be the right thing to do for the game. Chances are, if you ruled it in the 1st quarter, you probably wouldn't see another one again. So this is the one where the ball is deflected into the backcourt, 2 players attempting to secure control. Official rules contact be incidental. Let's see. Yeah, he ruled it to be incidental. I think they call that a crossbody in football. And then there was a question of a travel or not. So the question you have to ask yourself, because he was sitting on the other player, which would have been a foul normally, can he stand up? Incidental, illegal. We have seen this a few times. Incidental is legal or illegal. That would be piling on. It would be illegal. And we have a timeout instead. Okay. So incidental and illegal contacts are clearly defined in the rule book. Knowing the rule is the starting point. You need to know the rule before you can accurately rule. Right is right by rule, not my opinion, not my philosophy. Doesn't matter what crew you're on. Know the rule and apply it. The crew is responsible. Don't get caught up in the moment. Rules make it easier for us. It's easy to say, not as easy to do. Do the right thing even when it's not popular. So if you have any questions, we'll entertain them. And thanks for your attention. Hopefully this will help. But if you are in the varsity ranks already, if you could really work on that this year, it may get you the next step in your ambitions. So if you're a sub-varsity official, it's something you can work on for the next 3 or 4 years so that you will get the chance to move up as well.